I always had, like, you know, the usual interpretation of Caius, where it's like, oh yeah, look at this cool old dude, right? Who is this cool old man? Look at this. He's doing drugs. He's getting wasted and stuff. This dude's awesome. What a total bro. But now, in the year 2021, I look around, I see the skooma pipe, I see the moon sugar out, the goblets, overturned bottles, and I see the portrait of a man who is majorly depressed. When we had last left the prisoner bound by prophecy, they had arrived in the small imperial fortress town of Pelagiad, where they immediately took to exploring the area, the grounds of the fortress itself, looking for little tidbits of loot. However, it was in their travels and exploration did they uncover a beauty and a bandit. Yes, Maureen? Something like that. And Nelos. Indeed. She had been robbed and accosted in the wilds just outside of town, but she didn't care for the physical property. Indeed, she cared more for the dashing bandit. And it was through the help of the mysterious prisoner who was bound by prophecy that the two were united and seemingly were totally in love and were gonna just have a great time. But now it was time for the prisoner to say farewell to Pelagiad and move off, send off. Goodbye, Pelagiad. It's time to go to Balmora, to Caius Cosades, It's time to go see him. This is Morrowind Mondays. This is the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Welcome back. Oh. Oh my god. We started strong, but it got a little rocky there toward the end. Fun fact, I even said in the first time I recorded that, I even accidentally said Neverine, and I was like, oh, you know what? We'll do that take again. I forgot that we're still in prisoner bound by prophecy mode. Good lord. And yet I still almost messed it up there at the end of it. Jesus. Anyway, like I said, we're heading on out of town. Heading on over to Balmora Way. Oh, goodness. Which, funnily enough, in the recording of the last one, the last chapter of Morrowind Mondays, I don't even remember who. I didn't think it would come up, but hey, here we are. I've just found myself stumbling into this. But Balmora is, like, in some way done merry for, like, City of Stone, or like Stone Forest. Something along those lines, right? Which is very fitting, given, you know, there's some decently tall buildings, and they're all made of stone, right? And I wonder, I guess they are they carved from rock? Couldn't be, right? Yeah, they must be like, I don't know, like some kind of Dunmer fantasy version of like Adobe houses or something? I don't know. But they're clearly not, they can't be just carved directly from the rock, right? Because that's very much like a Dwemer thing, you know? That said, a lot of the Dwemer buildings and all of that here in Vardenfell do not take up that sort of, I don't know, architecture, aesthetic, if you will, right? They're a bit different. There's a lot more that's above ground. Okay. This way to Balmora. Very well. Should we take a cork bulb? Nope. We will not. There are none. Do you think she has anything new to say? I don't think we came back out here to check on her again, did we? Let's see. If there's anything I can ever do for you, I would be happy to. Soon, I will be with Nalos, and all will be well. Bandits nearby, yep, jewels. Okay, fair enough. Good luck! Alright, let's head on over here. One of the few NPCs that we find wearing gloves, right? Not gauntlets or like a pair of bracers or anything like that, but clothing gloves, huh? I feel like there's a scant few amount that we actually see wearing gloves, especially those, right? The more valuable ones, right? Weird. There's no... Are there ever fancy gloves in Oblivion or Skyrim? I know like regular gloves and certainly like work gloves and stuff exist, but I don't think they do. Fancy ones? Like exquisite or extravagant gloves or anything like that? I think it's just plain-ass gloves. Well, maybe there's some fancy, like, wizard's gloves in Oblivion. I can't remember. Just goes to show just another way that they're dumbing down the game. I can't believe it. No exquisite gloves? What is this? Becoming a game franchise for babies? Could it be? Fuck me. Alright, let's go on up over here. There we go. Oh, look! A little scrib has arrived to greet us on our weary travels. Hello, scrib. What say you? Oh. That's what it says to us. Thank you for your good morning and greeting, you lovely scrib. I don't know how else to mimic like the scrib sound without sounding like some kind of fucked up demon. They're like, that still sounds demonic, doesn't it? No, still demonic, still demonic. Here, let's have a rest for an hour so we can take out this little Ratulon. There we go. Good. The vicious Ratulon. Boom. Oh shit. Alright. Boom. Uh-oh. Boom. Gotcha for real that time, huh? Uh-oh. Oh god, please don't disease me. Please don't curse me. Save me, scrib! Oh god. Save me, scrib! There we are. Hey, gotcha. Alright. Any arrows back? No. Just the rat meat. Fair enough. Man, we are getting quite overloaded with stuff. We really should have visited the vendor lord there in Pelagiad, but I completely forgot. Uh-oh. Alright, thankfully, I don't think there's usually too much else on the path, right? On the path to Balmora. Let's see, we go right up here, correct? I'm not tripping balls, am I? Ghostgate, Balmora, Caldera. Right. Okay, head on over this way. You know who we didn't speak with? We didn't speak with Alone, the scout, to tell us all about the fun facts about Mamea and all that, right? You know? The lava flow ravines or whatever you would call these. Alright, here we go. And then we should have, yeah, that's part of the fort right there. Poking up and out. Goodness gracious. Ah, this looks like Balmora. Just outside of it. Good lord. Such a far cry from the lush beauty of the area surrounding Pelagiad, right? A lot more... Typically, I always find it's like an overcast kind of day whenever I get to Balmora. It's gotta be said, right? Good lord. Ascadian Isles and around... oh jeez, it's even raining. And around Pelagiad. It's so gorgeous, right? They even have, like, your first glimpse of the mushroom trees and everything after leaving the dank swamps around Seyda, Neen, right? Very cool. It's so beautiful. You won't even be able to tell that perhaps not even half a kilometer away from Pelagiad that there are farms utilizing slave labor. Good God. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Alright. You know what is interesting for me in not using sound and graphics overhaul? Of course, you know, taking in the, like, original textures except done up by the AI or, in some cases, done up by hand. But the trees, right? The trees. I enjoy them a lot. I don't know, because the trees and the sound and graphics or graphics and sound overhaul, the trees were really, in some cases, just going buck wild, right? Especially by the swamp. Some of them look like, I don't know, incarnations of Mora or some shit, you know? What the hell? Alright, I think we should maybe make a beeline for Caius, right? That way we can potentially get our early stipend of 300 gold, is it? Some stipend of early gold, right? For us being so low level, you know? Someone wrote in, I don't remember if it was in the last video or not, but someone wrote in saying that it's definitely not Cosades, right? And totally, right? That's just a holdover from me, like, having played the game as a child, right? It took forever for me to break from saying Seyda Neen to Seyda Neen. Shit like that, you know? But of course you would have a more Latin pronunciation on his surname, but honestly, I'm not even sure how it is, right? Jeez, we just had like a little bit of weird lagaroony there. Alright. Caius, knock knock. I'm here. After all this time. There we go. Good old Caius, huh? You know, before we get started on this, can I just say, you know, in the past, I always had, like, you know, the usual interpretation of Caius, where it's like, oh yeah, look at this cool old dude, right? Who is this cool old man? Look at this. He's doing drugs. He's getting wasted and stuff. This dude's awesome. What a total bro. But now, in the year 2021, I look around, I see the skooma pipe, I see the moon sugar out, the goblets, overturned bottles, and I see the portrait of a man who is majorly depressed. I see a man who has been in the Blades a little too long and seen some bad shit. Maybe been told to partake in some bad shit and is not happy about it, is wrestling with it, right? And of course, maybe that's just because we recently finished up Disco Elysium, but I cannot unsee it now. I cannot unsee that Caius is actually severely depressed in some way, right? It seems very obvious to me, right? And maybe he's like second guessing his involvement in the Blades, and as this new up-and-comer arrives to him, sent here by the Emperor by special decree, he's like, this is just messed up, dude. We don't even know if this is the person. We don't even know if this is the person we're looking for. We're just guessing. This is a person's life. They could have gone on, we could have just freed them for whatever or anything like that, right? And he's just like trying to reason with himself, like, I guess, you know, they were in prison for who knows how long. Maybe this is better. Maybe it's better this way, right? He says as he takes a swig of Sujama or whatever. It's like, just don't think about it, Caius. Just don't think about it. Jesus. And maybe that's why that's part of his ultimate fate, right? I don't know. Because do any of the other Blades ever actually even acknowledge his living situation? I don't think so. Right? Because you can go and meet the other Blades stationed in Vardenfell for, like, training up to a certain degree, and they don't bring up, like, the skooma pipe or the drinking, or him being, like, a shirtless, balding old man. They don't bring up any of that. They're just like, yeah, of course I report to Caius. You know, he's the spy master and all that. He's a good guy, or whatever the fuck, right? Or the Emperor and all that shit. Alright. Caius, what's up? What? Yes, I'm Caius Cosades. But, what do you mean? You were told to report to Caius Cosades. What are you talking about? Report to Caius? Dude, they didn't even tell you? Man, I've forgotten some details about this. Or just glossed over them at first blush, right? Didn't think too much about it, didn't read into it much. So, you say your name is Lyle Schnub, and you've been told to report to me and deliver a package. Perhaps you'll let me look at it. Yes. Yes. Very interesting. So it says here the Emperor wants me to make you a novice in the Blades. And that means you'll be following my orders. Are you ready to to follow my orders, Lyle Schnub? Sure, yes. Good. Welcome to the service, novice Lyle Schnub. Now, you belong to the Blades. We're the Emperor's eyes and ears in the provinces. You can use my bed if you need to rest, but leave my personal stuff alone unless I say otherwise. If you like, you can improve your modest skills with our Blades trainers now, or if you're in a hurry, I can give you orders right away. But don't forget to visit the Blades trainers. Blades trainers? These Blades agents offer training. Not free, of course, but cheap for a fellow agent. Look for Ridleen, Tyre and Nine Toes here in Balmora. In Caldera, see Serain Liuriain. In Aldran, see Gildan. Sjorvor Horsemouth lives in a hut west of Caldera. And Alone, the scout, can be found in Aureli's trade house in Seyda Neen. Alright. Should we ask about each one of them? Yeah, let's hear his take, right? Like I said, maybe we can, glean more information from him this time, we can read into it in this version of the playthrough, now that we have more awareness of, the goings-on of the entirety of everything, right? Okay, Ridleen. Warrior Ridleen lives 2 houses south, upstairs. Okay, you know what, maybe we won't learn too much if this is what we can expect. Alright, how about Tyre Healer Tyre lives 2 houses south, downstairs. Nine Toes. To get to Hunter Nine Toes, leave my door facing south. Go right, down the steps, then turn left and head south. Looking for his door on your left. How about Serain Liuriain? Mage Serain Liuriain is in Caldera, the next town north. Her half-timber and stone house sits between the twin towers of the North Gate and the Governor's Hall. How about Gildan? Nightblade Gildan lives in Aldran, the Redoran district seat, north of here. Beyond Caldera, Gildan is in the northeast corner of town, in a house to the right of the steps, up to the temple. Okay. How about Sjorvar Horsemouth? Master-at-Arms Sjorvar Horsemouth lives in a Gwar herder's hut in the middle of nowhere west of Caldera. I remember us going out there to look for this dude. It took forever. Impossible to find. I've only been there once and couldn't give your directions. Go look for him if you feel like a little hike. And how about Alone? Alone the Scout can usually be found at Aureli's trade house in Seyda Neen. You know where that is. You arrived in Seyda Neen by boat. Okay. And then finally, let's see, can we ask again about this? No. Fair enough. Should we ask about Blades in general? Yeah. We're spies. We're the Emperor's hidden eyes and ears in the provinces. We watch the Emperor's enemies, look for opportunities. We make reports. And, when the Emperor commands, we obey. But, we're only one of the many guilds and factions in Morrowind. You should know a little about Morrowind politics before you get involved with any of these other groups. Right. Interesting, right? That there's already Blades everywhere watching and reporting on all of the goings-on in Vardenfell, right? Despite the fact that, the whole 6th house threat and crisis with the Blight and Dagoth and all that shit, that's only a fairly recent affair, right? They weren't there for that reason. They were for all we know, these people were immediately installed as soon as the Empire started getting footing in Vardenfell, after they opened up, right? Okay. How about guilds and factions? Alright. Or not these people specifically, but, Blades in general. They were stationed in these places, right? Okay. Also notice? Huh. They are mostly, of course, as you would expect, in Hlalu areas, right? But there's also one in Aldrun, right? One in the middle of nowhere. But there is no one, not even a single person, right? In a Telvanni town. Huh. Isn't that weird? That said, that may be because they're all on the western coast, right? They wanted to make it to where they're all in areas that are easy to be visited by a new player and all of that, to where you don't have to go really far to like the far north reaches of Vardenfell or the like east northeast, stuff like that, right? Because Telvanni locations are probably the furthest out of the way relative to like a starting character, I guess. Very interesting though. I don't know if it's worth reading into or if it's simply for the sake of mechanics, you know? Anyway, guilds and factions. Oh, good lord. We might be here for a bit. Groups favoring Imperial interests are the Blades and the Imperial Cult, the Imperial Legion, the Fighters Guild, and the Mages Guild, and the Thieves Guild. Groups favoring native Dunmer interests are House Redoran, House Hlalu, and House Telvanni, the Temple, the Morag Tong, the Kamana Tong, and the Ashlanders. Right. Such a great introduction is, well, not a great introduction, but it's a great way to sort of show off just how, especially for its time, right? Especially for its time. Just how well conceived the like political structure and culture of Vardenfell is, right? The fact that, like, you know, yeah, Imperial interests, Dunmer interests, right? And even among the Dunmer, there are, like you've got here, there's the more secular ones, right? Like the House Dunmer, but even them, like House Redoran, is a lot more religious, right? And then you have like your murder organizations, and then you've got the Ashlanders, and then you've got like I said, the more religious faction, the Temple, right? And they're not also regularly like on good footing with one another, right? Whereas in the case of the Imperial Cult and Legion, interestingly enough, they are a lot more unified, aren't they? Right? Even the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild, which maybe at first blush, if you're like super new to it, you might imagine like, oh, some sort of rivalry between the two of them, right? And I think there might be something where like people are like, yeah, you're not with those snooty nerds with the Mages Guild. Haha, you're a real cool person here with the Fighters Guild and all that, right? But that's about as far as it goes, right? Huh. If anything, what's interesting is that outwardly that is the appearance, but right as you go deeper in, isn't it? Yeah, the Fighters Guild are in with the Kamana Tong, right? Very fascinating, right? They're so-called imperial interests, but they've been completely overtaken or are in the process of being overtaken by Kamana Tong interests, right? Which just putting them as a Dunmer interest faction and all that is putting it is being very, very reductive, right? Because they're like a really fucked up criminal organization, you know? All right. Huh. It's very fascinating shit, right? Very fascinating. It's such a great dichotomy, right? Even games today do not have such depth to their faction system, their world building and all that, you know? Anyway, holy shit, we're waxing too poetically here, I guess, over one of my favorite bits. All right, let's see. Did we ask about the Blades? We did. Imperial Cult. The Imperial Cult worships the 9 divines. The Aedra, Akatosh, Dibella, Arche, Zenithar, Mara, Stendar, Kinnereth, and Julianos. And Tiber Septim, founder and patron of the Empire. In Morrowind, it's partly maintaining the faith for outlanders like us, and partly a missionary cult, bringing enlightenment to the heathen Dunmer. I read into this now as him being like kind of, as him saying it with like tongue-in-cheek almost, right? Yes, bringing enlightenment to the heathen Dunmer, right? Because he has such a favorable, like a kindly view, especially on the Urshulaku Ashlanders, right? Am I incorrect in that? Like, Caius is generally, like, kind-hearted, especially relative to a lot of the other Imperial interest groups, right? To the Ashlanders and all that shit, right? He's fairly, like, charitable. Anyway, you can see Samutis Vunis at Fort Moonmoth to join, but you have to go to Ebonheart if you want to become a lay servant. Alright, how about... Tell me about Fort Moonmoth. Fort Moonmoth is the Imperial Legion garrison, southeast of Balmora, just outside of town. Rad Hardheart is the knight in charge. Between the Imperial Legions and Imperial Cult staff, they have about a dozen service providers out there. Lay servant? A lay servant serve the Imperial Cult by doing various tasks. Not a lot of excitement, but safe, honorable, and rewarding. First, you have to join the Imperial Cult, then go to the Imperial Chapels in Ebonheart to get work. See Sinolian Tunifus to become a lay healer. See Iulis Treptor to become an almoner. To become an almond. A fundraiser. See Kai to become a shrine sergeant. They do the more dangerous jobs. Okay, how about the Fighters Guild? The Fighters Guild is a professional organization, chartered by the Emperor to regulate the hiring and training of mercenaries. Training, goods, and services are cheaper for members, and the Guild's stewards know where to find work. You'll have to start your service with Edith Fireeye, the Balmora Guild steward. She's new, and I don't know her well. Perseus Mercius, the Outrun Guild steward, I know and trust, but he only handles higher-ranking assignments, which also lends credence, right, to our take that Caius is generally, like, charitable to... Right? Doesn't that totally lend... Yeah, that totally lends credence to the idea that Caius has a charitable outlook on the Dunmer people and perhaps feels some level of guilt for what the Empire is, like, attempting to do and how, or more so, how they're going about doing it, right, in Vardenfell, because Perseus Mercius tries very hard to create, like, a good bond and understanding between the Fighters Guild and, like, the local Dunmer folks and all that, right? I believe that's correct, right? Like, he goes out of his way to try and, like, soothe a widow, right? Am I thinking of the right quest? Or am I mistaking that for the Imperial Legion? I'm not sure. I know Perseus Mercius is like a very nice guy, but I can't remember, like, his outlook on Dunmer in general, and, like, Ashlanders as well, the various subsects of Dunmeri culture in Vardenfell. Anyway, it's super cool and complicated and just full of depth. Alright, Mages Guild. It's a guild for the arcane arts, and it's where you go to find wizards for hire. Training, goods, and services are cheaper for members, and the guild stewards know where to find work. If you want to be a wizard, join and work your way up the ranks. The Mages Guild here is a better bet than the Fighters Guild. Rannis Athris is the guild steward, so talk to her if you want to join up. She's got a chip on her shoulder, but her apprentice Ajira seems okay for a Khajiit. Oh god. Good lord. Caius, the well-meaning, but ultimately still a little bit racist of an old man, right? Well-meaning, like, oh, you're trying, but you're just from a different era. You're trying so hard, I can see it, but this just isn't that great. Right? I'm understanding. I get where you're coming from, but I know not everyone will be. Alright, let's see. Thieves Guild. In the rest of the Empire, the Thieves Guild is a more or less organized group of local criminal syndicates governing illegal trade in their communities. Here in Morrowind, the Thieves Guild is the newcomer. The established local crime lords are called the Kamana Tong. The Thieves Guild doesn't advertise, partly to avoid the law, and partly to avoid the Kamana Tong, who have sworn to destroy the upstart Thieves Guild. Sugarlips Habasi over at the South Wall is the local guild boss. The Kamana Tong. The Kamana Tong is Morrowind's native criminals syndicate. They're tough and ruthless, and have connections in the higher ranks of House Slalu. The Kamana Tong competes directly with the Thieves Guild for control of illegal trade, and Kamana Tong will not tolerate competition. Compared with the Kamana Tong, the Thieves Guild is relatively decent and honorable, certainly less brutal. They don't accept Outlanders as members. Forget about it. Alright. What is the general Kamana Tong take on the 6th house, right? You would think that they would totally be aligned, right? Because, like, the goals of the 6th house and the Kamana Tong totally seem like ultra-nationalist and all that shit, right? They seem totally, like, politically in tune with one another, right? It's just their methods. One is a lot more fantastical than the other with regards to their methods. So I don't know. Maybe they would be at odds because of that subtlety, of that distinction, right? Maybe the Kamana Tong once all these foreigners out, right? Or wants superiority or dominance over the foreign folks and all that shit by way of, like, good old-fashioned beating the shit out of them rather than, like, a super disease or whatever, right? Let's see, let's go on up here. How about House Redoran? House Redoran is one of the 3 Dunmer great houses on Vardenfell. A very serious, unhonorable bunch. It's difficult for an Outlander to join and rise in their ranks, but the great houses are where the power lies in Morrowind. Talk to Redoran counselors if you want to become a Redoran retainer. Although House Redoran is definitely, like, the most cut and dry of a lot of the quest lines and all that, they're definitely my favorite. Right. Especially with how they're poised in being, like, definitely the most religious of the 3 active great houses in Vardenfell, right? And how that would factor in post or after the events of this game of Morrowind, how that may impact upon them, right? Because the cool Redoran storyline wouldn't be during the events or before, right? Because there's no reactivity. So theoretically, I guess, like, the events of the House Redoran arc are before the main quest. The most interesting House Redoran arc is after the main quest, right? Once people start to realize, oh shit, all this here, it's fucked up, right? That is when you get the really interesting and compelling House Redoran storyline, I think. Alright, let's go on up here. House Slalu. House Slalu is one of the 3 Dunmer great houses on Vardenfell. They're loyal supporters of the Empire, open-minded in religious and cultural matters, and greedy and ambitious in the best Imperial tradition. Right, once again, I think that's totally tongue-in-cheek, right? Just as before, I think this is him, like shitting on the own Imperial tradition of being shitty, right? Huh. Man! We're, like, gleaning so much in this new visitation of all this, right? Or at least I feel as much, right? Anyway. It's difficult to rise in their ranks as an Outlander, but the great houses hold the power in Morrowind. Talk to Hlalu counselors if you want to become a Hlalu retainer. And finally, House Telvanni. House Telvanni is one of the 3 Dunmer great houses in Vardenfell. Their nobles are 1,000-year-old wizards. Telvanni are supposed to hate politics, foreigners, and just about everything else. But the Vardenfell Telvanni are apparently more ambitious and adventurous than most. I don't know much about them, but they do hire Western mercenaries, and some even rise to higher ranks. Talk to Telvanni counselors if you want to become a Telvanni retainer. I wonder if we'll meet some of them in Tamriel Rebuilt content, right? I don't know. I love this as well. He's just like, yeah, they're pretty bigoted. They're pretty rough. Okay, let's go over here. The temple. The Tribunal Temple is the native religion. They worship 3 god kings, Amalaxia, Sothasil, and Vivek, who are known together as the Tribunal, or Tribunal, however you want your pronunciation. We usually just call it the Temple. They're narrow-minded and superstitious, but I find a lot to admire, particularly their concern for the poor. They accept Outlanders as members, but few Outlanders join except for the services. Talk to Feldralo Sadri at the Balmora Temple if you're thinking about joining. Some allusion to what will eventually come up, right? And honestly, like, a pretty decent take, right? Maybe, I don't know if narrow-minded is the right way to go about it, but maybe. I don't know. We'll have to get a refresher on, like, their doctrine and everything, right? Because we know the gist of it, but the specifics maybe elude me, or I've forgotten. But I do like that he says, yeah, but there's also a lot to admire, especially how concerned they are for the poor, right? Fucking Comrade Caius, for sure. Let's go up here. Temple, the Morag Tong. The Morag Tong is a guild of executioners and assassins, completely legal and guided by a strict code of conduct. It's an ancient Dunmer society, steeped in tradition. But I know and respect a few Westerners who belong to the Morag Tong. They are nothing like the Dark Brotherhood. I have no idea how to join them. Oh, I wish you could hear Caius's take on the Dark Brotherhood, right? I would love that. Alright, Kamanatong. Oh, we already heard that earlier when we were asking about the Thieves Guild. Ashlanders. I don't know much about the Ashlanders. Most people say they are murderous savages, but most people I know are idiots. Good shit from fucking Caius, right? This is what I'm talking about. Good fucking shit from Caius. And like I said, this totally lends credence to the idea that the reason why Caius has all this wild shit in his house isn't because he's necessarily like a party animal by nature, but he's become a party animal as a symptom of being severely fucking depressed about all this shit, right? That is totally the read on the character, isn't it? Okay. I know they hate their settled Dunmer, cousins almost as much as they hate Westerners. They must be tough to live in the Ashlands. I don't think Outlanders can become members of the tribes. I don't know why anyone would want to. Okay, and then I think that's it. So we'll click on orders again. That way we can get our stipend of money, I believe, right? Let's see. There we go, 200. First thing, Pilgrim. You're new, and you look it. Here's 200 drakes. Go, get yourself a decent weapon, or armor, or a spell. And second thing, you need a cover identity. Around here, freelance adventurer is a common profession. Sign on with the Fighters Guild, or Mages Guild, or Imperial Cult, or Imperial Legion. Advance in the ranks, gain skill and experience. Or go out on your own, look for freelance work or trouble. Then, when you're ready, come back and I'll have orders for you. Great. Okay. Very cool. Let's see, can we get background or anything more about yourself, Caius? I'm the Imperial Spy Master for Morrowind, and since I'm the ranking Blades agent in Morrowind, you report to me. You follow orders, and we'll get along fine. Let's see, anything else? Little advice, maybe? Oh, is this new? How do you judge a job's difficulty? Consider 3 things: location, opposition, and payoff. Long walks into the wilderness are usually tougher than local or town tasks. Tough opponents make tough jobs. Daedra, vampires, rogue Telvanni. You'll learn which ones to look out for. And finally, if the reward offered is large, the dangers will be large too. Right? It's so wild that just rogue Telvanni is such a accepted facet of society, right? It's just like, oh, that's just how they are. Some Telvanni wizard went off and built a fucking mushroom tower in the middle of nowhere and just started killing everybody around them. What can you do? That's just House Telvanni. What the fuck? Maybe I'll just fucking one day join House Telvanni and wipe the fucking floor with a lot of them, huh? Maybe that's what I'll do. Not this playthrough, though. Alright, let's see. How about services? Did we hear this, though? Yeah, I think we heard this. Did we exhaust everything of interest that he has? Freelance work. There we go. You can always just wander and ask for work, hunt monsters and sell their hides, collect ingredients for alchemists, prey on bandits and smugglers, search ruins for loot. All you need are better skills and conditioning, and knowledge of Morrowind, and spend what you earn on equipment and training. Then come back a little less wet behind the ears, and I won't have to worry so much about you when I send you out on a mission. Alright. Which is interesting because, like, he explicitly does rank and believe that his own things, his own tasks, will be way more challenging than, like, entry-level work for any of these factions, right? And I guess he's not wrong, right? At least from a like, lore standpoint, right? Because he sends you to a Dwemer ruin immediately, right? Which is kind of a lot, you know? Okay, that said, I'm pretty sure that there's no, like, major threats inside of that ruin, right? It is still kind of leaning toward a newer character. Anyway, holy shit. A lot of talking with Caius, but honestly, we got so much juicy shit and, like, inference on, like, the world from him that I think it was totally fucking worth it, right? Holy cow. Like I said, the first few will probably be a bit quicker. You know how it is. When next we come back, I think we need to head on out to Teleran, right? We need to wrap up that business with, Maurice? Good lord, we even saw her, but I forgot her name. Nonetheless, we need to head on out there, meet with her contact, and then maybe we'll join up with House Slalu, right? Because I do want to run through a new guild, or a new house, a new great house, for this playthrough. Because in the prior one, we went all Redoran all the way, right? So I'm thinking we do House Slalu in this one, and then in the future, we'll hit up Telvanni. That's how I feel about it. Also, it kind of goes hand in hand with our weapon of choice here, Marksman, right? Okay, good plan? Great plan. When next we come back, we're heading on out to Teleran by way of... who knows? Until next time, please take care of each other.